Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Yonit Arthur. I'm an audiologist and coach. You're on the Steady Coach. It is a huge honor and privilege today, for so many reasons, to bring you this success story with Dr. Uzma. Today celebrates the 50th success story for the Steady Coach, and Dr. Uzma is an exceptional human being with an exceptional story to tell. Dr. Uzma is an ophthalmologist. She's a physician and a surgeon. She's the mother of 3 young children. She had a lot going on in her life when she ended up with labyrinthitis that later on developed into PPPD, or what we know on this channel as neural circuit dizziness. She went through some awful times, which she will detail in this conversation. And thankfully, she also figured out how to get better. I got to know Dr. Uzma personally. I was able to actually coach her in my coaching group, and that always makes these stories particularly touching and special for me to help share. I know you're going to get a lot out of this. Looking forward to hearing your questions and comments. Just drop them below if you're on YouTube. Please also like, share, subscribe to my channel. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, please give us a follow, leave us a 5-star rating. All of these things help us reach more people and share more stories of success with the world so people know that recovery is possible. Well, Dr. Uzma, it is, as we were talking about just a few moments ago, an incredible privilege to have you here. I am overcome beyond words to have you here in front of me. You were saying when we first got on that it's surreal to you. It's surreal to me too. I remember how bad things were for you when I first met you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Yu. Thank you for having me. And as I said, it is surreal. It's a dream come true. And it was beyond my imagination that I would be a success story so soon. And I really just wanted to shout to the world and tell everyone that you could definitely get better and you could win over the situation. And this is not a life sentence. So that's the first thing I want to tell everyone, that you will heal and you will come over this. And pretty sooner than you think.
Oh, what a wonderful way to start this conversation. And you are an authority because you are not just someone who's dealt with neural circuit dizziness, you're also a physician. Do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am an ophthalmologist. I've done my master's in ophthalmology after doing my MBBS, and I practice in Gulbarga, that's in India. So I'm a surgeon, I'm a physician too, I'm a mother of 3. So my
Just got a
youngest
little
is,
bit going on. Yeah.
yeah,
Let's start at the beginning. How did everything get started for you?
wow. Actually, it was a one big bang event for me in the last trimester of my last pregnancy. So it was a normal day. I was having my dinner in the evening. And after my dinner, I stood up and I felt a little bit dizzy. And for me, that had happened in my second trimester also for 1 month. I felt a bit off, bit dizzy, something like which I couldn't describe, and something no one understood. When I visited the gynacs, they said that it is just pregnancy hormones or it's just weakness, it'll get better. And it did get better after a month. So this was something similar. So I brushed it off and I kept going. And the next day when I woke up, the dizziness slightly increased. And me and my husband and my kids, we went to have breakfast. That's when the dizziness and nausea just shot up. I couldn't take it anymore. I said to my husband, I can't take this. I'm just feeling very dizzy. I need to get home. And within half an hour, I couldn't move my head and I was vomiting. So I had a little bit, like I had a little bit experience. My husband had BPPV and my brother had BPPV too. So I had seen them. So the first thought was this is BPPV. So we need to go and see an ENT doctor. So we went to our colleague and he looked at me just walking and he said, this is labyrinthitis. This is not BPPV. So it'll take a while to settle down. So just take these meds, the Strugeron and everything, Cinnarizine, cetirizine and everything, and he gave me.
Okay.
And then he
Did he
said,
also give you steroids or just the
he
okay.
gave me steroids.
Yeah.
And he told me that it will take 1 to 2 weeks to get better, just take bed rest. So at that time, there was no fear. So I knew it was something that would go away. Then things were in my hand. It was extremely uncomfortable. I couldn't move my head, even a little bit, even 5 degree I couldn't move without vomiting. And couple of days passed, 3 days passed. Even after a week, I wasn't very comfortable moving. So the whole day I would just lie down on bed, and my mother was there with me, so she would just feed me. I would be on an inclined position. She would feed me, and then again I would go back to lying down. So that happened, and within a month I recovered completely. So I think this was on when I was 31 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
Right. So
Yeah.
after that, I gave birth via an elective C-section, and a few more medical things happened with me. Like on the second day, my BP shot up. I had hemorrhage. Like I passed huge blood clots, and my BP just shot up. And they gave me magnesium sulfate. And my BP was not quite normal throughout my pregnancy. Also, it didn't come under preeclampsia, but it was just shooting up quite often. Something that again the doctors were not getting it. When I would go in their office, they would check me. It would be normal. But at the times when I was stressed or I was feeling off, my BP would reach till 180. So me being a doctor, they said you can just monitor it, and if there is something, you can just come back to us. So again, my BP was high postpartum. I didn't have preeclampsia, so the gynec was okay. This it just must be some uh, hematological changes, like changes in your blood volume, etc. It will be fine. So they sent me home without giving me any antihypertensive. At the time of the discharge, my blood pressure was 140/90. A couple of days passed, and then on the fifth or sixth day, I was having this constant headache. So I checked my BP. It was around 190, 110. So we rushed to the ER, and they, even after giving all the medications, my BP refused to come down. It would just come down a bit, a notch down, and again it would shoot up. So even the intensivists, they were confused. Like they were like, okay, this is the maximum that we can give. We don't know why this is happening. So next day I got an MRI done. Everything was ruled out. Thrombosis, everything that they could rule out, it was ruled out. And they gave me an antihypertensive and sent me home again. So all these things kept happening back to back. Again, when I came back after 2 weeks, I had a huge hemorrhage. After that, on the 21st day, I started noticing lightheadedness, which was very annoying. I previously did have dizziness throughout my life, but this was something else. It was just 24/7 low grade lightheadedness, and it made difficult for me to sit on the floor or just be still. So I tried to rule out why this is happening, and for me, I felt it is because of the medications that I'm taking, antihypertensives. And along with that dizziness, I started having, which I now know were panic attacks. So I felt like I would faint anytime. So I used to call my husband and say that, no, I feel I'll pass out. Please just take me to some cardiologist. And we'd go there and he would check me and he said, nothing, it's just anxiety. So you can take these anti-anxiety drugs, it's nothing to worry about. And I would be like, how is it nothing to worry about when I can't stand? Like I feel I'm going to pass out. And throughout, like I have shown to 4 cardiologists, many physicians, overall 20 plus doctors, and they would all brush it off saying it's nothing. And I had a downside to me that I was a doctor. So they were like, okay, you're just over analyzing stuff. It's nothing to, doctors are the worst patients. You're just overthinking. So everyone was just backfiring at me that just be a patient, don't be a doctor. Take these medications, you'll get better. And I did take everything they prescribed me, but nothing was working. I was dizzy because of some reason or the other. And I did not understand how anxious I was at that time, trying to just find out the cause, what was happening with me, why is this happening? And somewhere that fear of that vertigo happening again was at the back of my mind. So I thought, okay, maybe change of place would help me. So I shifted to my mom's place in another city. So there things were getting a little better. And I remember that day, particular day, I was feeling, okay, I'm fine now. The dizziness has gone. It's very little minimal. I can go about with my life. And then I had a second vertigo attack, which was a huge,
Oh,
huge
yeah.
it's something that shot up my anxiety so bad. I remember I was just thinking, I saw a bulb and that bulb started moving. So in that vertigo, the room starts spinning. So I was just praying, no, no, God, no, I can't go through that again. So and I had a small baby with me. I had two other kids to look after. So that was very, very disheartening. And I cried like anything that day. And also how much I knew that this was a one-time event, vestibular neuritis. Vertigo usually just happens once, and then there's a dizziness that fades off. But for me, it happened twice, and it took a long time to recover. So I was completely anxious. I was, I felt defeated at that time. So, and I was frantically searching for answers. That why did it happen to me twice? What is this? If it is not labyrinthitis or vestibular neuritis, then what is this? So that happened. I kept on puking. Another week, I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk. Then I also visited a vertigo center. Like they would evaluate all, they would do all the testing. And I got the VNG done, the caloric testing, everything. And there was, I think, 80%, like 80% effect on my left ear in that calorie testing.
Mhm.
So, but they did not see the reports properly and they labeled it as vestibular migraine.
Interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that because of they didn't take the history properly. When I said that I suffered for 1 month, they wrote it for 1 hour, which later I checked the files. So they gave me the diagnosis of vestibular migraine and I was devastated. Migraine for me, I felt okay, I'm going to have this throughout my life every few days. So how am I going to live? So again, that spiked my anxiety, and I was having daily panic attacks after that. I would dread the mornings because mornings I had the most panic attacks. Then I thought, no, I have to get this, like I have to settle myself down. So I visited a psychiatrist friend of mine. She said that I'll give you just a low dose of sertraline, very low dose. It won't have any side effects. You just take that, and it will be fine. And initially, it did help me in getting those panic attacks down. So I wasn't having the panic attacks anymore, and I was feeling like I wasn't dizzy, but I wasn't normal as well. Something was off. I could feel it. The fear was there, intense fear was there. So I kept on taking that sertraline for about 5 weeks. Then again, that dizziness came back
Okay.
in a
Even while you
different
were on
form
it, even while
when I
you were
was off.
on it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that
Mhm. And
low dose, I think, yeah,
it's for people who don't know, it's an SSRI.
it is an SSRI, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Such a low dose that even my friend, she did not expect any side effects. I did not expect any side effects. But I was literally having the side effects of that sertraline. Like if you have heard of serotonin syndrome, yeah. So I was having those symptoms on the lowest dose of SSRI. I was
Do you want to tell
extremely,
people, yeah, what were those effects for people who don't know?
I was having extreme euphoria. I was having jitteriness and tremors. Like my hands were jittering and there were tremors in my hand, and I was sweating like anything, and I was extremely dizzy. But because of the effect of the medicine, I wasn't tensed. I was euphoric instead. So I shared that with my friend. She told, okay, I have a colleague in your city, just go and meet him. I showed to another psychiatrist over here in where I live, and he gave me another bunch of few medicines. I told I don't want to take drugs anymore. This is not helping me. I am dizzy even while taking the drugs. So I don't want to take it. It's been a month and a half. I remember he told me that you have to take it, madam. Otherwise, you will be miserable for life and this won't go away. So you have to take it. And don't be a doctor. Just be a patient and take don't even see what it is. Just take it. And I remember bawling while coming out of his office. And my husband, like, he has been my backbone. Like, throughout this journey has been with me. So he said, okay, what do you want to do? I said, I don't want to take the medicines. He said, okay, just go with it. I'm there with you. You just do what you feel is okay. You are a doctor too. You know what you're doing. So I tapered the medicines within a week. And after that, my real ordeal started. The symptoms that were like a 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10, they shot up to 10 out of 10. So I actually have a list of symptoms that I was having at that time. If I be.
Please, absolutely.
Yeah, so after I left sertraline, I had temperature regulation issues. It would be extremely cold outside, but I would be sweating, or it would be hot outside and I would feel very, very cold. And I literally felt my brain was being fried on a pan. It was that much heated. Then I had auditory hallucinations before I slept. I never had hallucinations in my life. So I literally had auditory hallucinations for a month or two. And I had intense, vivid dreams. And there was this feeling of intense doom. Anything bad is going to happen to me. I didn't know how to describe it to anyone. So the sweating, then I felt electricity flowing in my nerves with each breath, with each expiration. I felt, even now, sometimes now, with on a very, very low intensity, when I take a breath, I feel all my nerves. So that was their morning dread. That was very difficult. And yeah, I had lightheadedness initially, followed by heavy-headedness and sand feeling in the head. Like if I would move my head, I would feel there's sand or something in my head which is moving. So balance issues, I felt like I was manually balancing myself in space continuously. So I had to put effort to balance myself. So that was there, and there were vision issues. So the vision, it felt too clear, like someone has dialed the volume up, or the brightness up rather. So that was very difficult. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit. Me not being able to sit was very, very bad. Like, that was unbearable. All I did in the first initial couple of months was lying down. I would get up, do what I had to do. Again, I used to lie down. So that bed had become my safe space. So sitting was extremely difficult, and I had this extreme rocking sensation, rocking and swaying, and I couldn't walk, or standing still was very difficult. So standing at the counter, standing at the dining table to do anything, I used to feel this huge rocking sensation. It would be very uncomfortable for me. Then I had pull to one side while walking. That was there. And then for a few days, I had dizziness in my arms as well. I don't know how to explain that. My arms felt dizzy to me. And that's when I was following you. So you said that you should not fixate on a symptom too much. So I let it go and it wasn't bothering me that much. Then I had those dizzy spells, those elevated drop moments throughout the day. Then I had like I felt drugged or hungover, even though um, it felt like I had taken some cold medications, 10 times the dosage. So it felt like that the whole day. and my BP would fluctuate. My baseline BP was initially 110/70, which now had become 130/90, and it would fluctuate. It would shoot anytime with any minor trigger. Then my heart rate was increased, going up to 130, 140 baseline heart rate.
What? Mm.
Yeah, that was really bizarre. Then my periods were extremely irregular. After my delivery, I bled for 7 months straight without any gap. And there was water retention all over. And while doing any activity, I felt dysregulated. I felt like I had done a lot of work and I need rest now within just 5 minutes of doing any activity. And I felt extreme fatigue. Then there was sensory overwhelm, like my kids' noise used to make me very dysregulated. And even bright noises, just people talking, I couldn't take it, all those things. So I think, yeah, this is what I remember after a year. I'm pretty sure there were many more symptoms.
Wow. Yeah. So for this entire period of time, it sounds like, I mean, did you get any relief at all? Like, were there any times when you felt okay?
No,
Mm. Wow.
for initially 3 months, I think 2.5 months, there wasn't a single day, a single moment where I felt even dizziness coming from a 10 to an 8. No, there wasn't any moment. After 2.5 months, I remember that I was just walking outside in the garden I have outside my home. So I was walking and I was praying that, God, I really need to see and feel your presence. I cannot take this anymore. I need to feel your presence and know that this will be okay. So the next day, for half a day, the symptoms went down. So that was after 3 months. So that was the first moment of relief, you could say.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So there are a few things I want to ask about before you go on. So I'm so curious to know what it was like as a physician going through this. First of all, basically being dismissed by other physicians. And then second of all, feeling like with all the knowledge that you had, you weren't able to figure out what was wrong and what needed to be done.
Well, Dr. Yu, there is a reason for that because this is actually not taught in medical school. So I think this should have been taught in the central nervous system part of the medicine, but it wasn't. There was physiology of how the nerves work and the sympathetic and parasympathetic system, ANS, everything. But the pathology part of it, if it is dysregulated, how to manage it, what is dysregulation, what happens if it gets overloaded, nothing is taught to us. So basically, as clueless as I was, all the other physicians were too. And I would like to really put it out there that sometimes it's just we as doctors don't know certain things. And it's okay if we don't know. But we should not belittle the suffering of the patient, you know, saying them that it's not there, it's just you're overthinking, you're overanalyzing. So that shouldn't be there. So for me, it was never taught to me. After going all through this, I researched on my own. I read books about it, about the nervous system, deep, like diving deep into everything. And now I know I have a like proper knowledge about what is happening, what happened. But at that time, I was completely clueless.
Do you feel like at one point when you did find my work that it was hard to accept that because it wasn't things that you've been taught, or did it make sense to you quickly?
Made sense to me quickly
Okay.
because whatever you told is completely like it is based on facts and scientific research itself. Like what you say is based on science. It's not just an abstract, it's not something abstract. It is real. And when you speak about the central nervous system and how it works, everything, so all that made sense to me pretty quickly.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Gosh. Wow. Okay. So thank you for saying that. Your words are going to carry a lot of weight to people who are hearing this. So
I
thank you
really
for
hope.
saying that. Yeah. Okay. So you were going through all of this basically with a half a day of relief at one point during many months. And
Yeah.
at some point in that process, did you find my YouTube channel or did you start getting better first from doing something else? Or what happened to start changing this?
I first saw you when I was having initially lightheadedness from those BP medications, and I saw your video, like exercises for PPPD, and I said to myself, no, this is not me. So this
Fair enough.
so, but later, after I was struggling to understand what is going on with me, why so much bizarre, mysterious symptoms are going on with no evidence. So at that time, I found you, and I found other channels like Shan Kasam and everything related to anxiety. But yours struck me the most because of the clarity of the knowledge that you have, and you take a thought which like a thought which we have and then make it a video out of it.
Yeah, I do. I
And
do that. It's weird. I know.
someday I'll be having some issues, some bad thought about this triple PD, and I'll just see my YouTube, see the YouTube, and then I'll see you like stating the same thought and giving some solution for it. So that happened a lot. So I went through all the your videos, and I was watching the success stories. Initially, success stories were the only thing that gave me a little bit relief, that message of safety. Even though all the theoretical knowledge was okay, but listening to people saying that they got better, and this is something that you can overcome completely and not manage. So that was huge. Then I came across Prasanna's success story. So he mentioned Riaz Peter in it, Riaz, Riaz's
Yes.
work.
Yep.
So for
Yep.
a
His
while,
coach. Hmm.
yeah, I contacted him, and I think for a month, for 3, 4 sessions, he helped me just understand what are my beliefs and why has all this happened. So pretty early, I dove deep in to the issues I was having as a person. So side by side, I was watching all of your videos and trying to implement everything that you said about movement. Especially, I knew from early on that movement is necessary. I have to keep moving. So I used to use your videos as safety messages while I did that. So, like I said, I used to stroll outside my home in the garden. That was the only activity I did in the whole day initially. Whole day I used to lie down, and then as my helper came home, I used to leave my kids with her and then go out and take a 10 minutes walk while listening to your videos, and then come back and then lie down again. So
Wow.
as I tried to increase the activities and movements, I used all of your videos I heard and used as a safety message. Initially, that happened. Then working with Riaz, I got to know about the the traits that I have, which I didn't know were an issue. So I even have a list of that which I had to
Oh,
change.
please share. The clarity is so helpful for people.
Yeah. So actually, after 3 months, I accepted that this is triple PD, and I
Okay.
just need to follow what Dr. Yo is saying, and I will get better. Those people have gotten better. I will get better too. And I think I have to give it a long time. So that really helped me, giving myself like maybe a couple of years to get over everything and be as healthy I was again. So I was a huge people pleaser, which was a trait I developed in my childhood. So that was very, very big thing for me because I seek validation from other people's opinions about me. Anything that a person said about me would have a large effect on me. So I would be thinking about it 24/7. So, and perfectionism, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to be the doctor. I wanted to be the homemaker. I wanted to be the perfect mom. I wanted to be the perfect daughter-in-law, a perfect daughter. So, yeah, I wanted to do it all. And it was all or none for me, which I struggle till now. So either I'm doing it all or I'm not doing enough. So that, and I used to hide my emotions. I pretended to be okay when I was not. So suppressing my emotions and not being vocal about how I feel, that was a huge thing. So, and I had a fear of confrontation. I never confronted anyone. So I used to keep it to myself, and that used to keep playing in my head. So, and then
Wow.
I used to be, yeah, okay by myself, but somewhere in the back of my head that would stay. So I was the peacemaker of the house.
It goes on. Oh my goodness. I'm hearing these and I hope other people hearing this are also hearing what I'm hearing. The amount of stress. So not just the outside stress as a surgeon, as a doctor, as a mom, as a daughter-in-law, as a daughter, as a wife, the amount of additional pressure you were putting on yourself. I mean, you didn't need any additional pressure. All that other stuff would have been plenty, but then you were also on top of that adding so much pressure.
I did, I was. And I had that pressure to be the good girl of the family because I was an overachiever. You know, I'm the only doctor in the family, and there were never many complaints about me. So I was supposed to be the good girl. So I tried to live up to that expectation always. Then I was over responsible. I refused to ask any help from anyone for my responsibilities. So even if someone offered me help, I wouldn't take it, thinking that
Wow.
I wouldn't be enough if I took help. So that was there. And I felt responsible for others' emotions. So I felt the need to fix things for people. If someone is not feeling okay, I felt that responsibility that I am the one that should be fixing that. So that was a huge thing. And I had self made deadlines and parameters by which I judged my self worth. So yeah, that was there since beginning. Like in my MBBS also, if I finish the chapter today and if I read all these things, I'm doing something good. If not, I would have immense anxiety. So all these self-made deadlines, and yeah, I wasn't vocal about my feelings. I had that fear of speaking out. All these things were there.
Wow. So I'm curious now, just looking back, now that you read that huge list and told me about all the stress, how do you think of the story of how you ended up with neural circuit dizziness? Like, what's your interpretation of what happened?
I think, Dr. Yo, it was a lot for my body to take. I was already pregnant. I shifted my house in the 7th month of my pregnancy alone without much help. I was taking care of my kids. And at that time, I was doing my house chores as well, cooking, cleaning, everything. I was doing that. And on top of that, I had some emotional pressures over me. There were some conflicts going on in the family because of me like separating or shifting from my in-laws place. So that had a huge impact on me because I was supposed to be the good person. Suddenly when I was bad, I couldn't take that. So that shot up my BP quite often. So I think there were multiple factors which caused this. It was too much for my body to handle. So I think it was a message that you need to calm down. You need to relax now, by hook or by crook. So
Yeah. 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 I mean, this is spot on. exactly how I think a lot of people end up with neural circuit dizziness. They have this accumulation of stress, like you described. I mean, I don't even, yours is another level, really. It's another level, but some accumulation of stress. And then they have the bad luck of having labyrinthitis or some other medical event after your birth. There could have been some kind of medical event that maybe caused some uncomfortable sensations or dizziness, but then the nervous system says, "Aha, this is
Yeah.
the last straw. We are now overwhelmed. We are now in complete alarm, and we're staying here."
Yeah, that is what happened.
Wow. Okay, so you worked with Riaz, you found out a lot of things about yourself. You started to identify some strategies you were using that were making life more stressful. And
Uh-huh.
you started listening to my videos. You started moving more. Tell me what happened after that.
After that, I think I joined your group at that time. So that was again a monumental change in my recovery, because everything, be it the group discussions or be it your Q&A sessions, every little bit was a safety message that you're going to be okay, you're going to be okay. And there is something about speaking to people going through this or who have gone through this that just makes it better, like it becomes bearable.
Yeah.
So I think I had a group session with you, so I found out many things. Also, I worked about the fear of vertigo with you. That was huge for me because I had this constant fear of having that vertigo again and again. So with that one session, I could really that fear disappeared for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was there in your group for about 4 months, 4 or 5 months. So that time was just spent healing completely. And Q&A sessions were very, very important for me because in this condition, you have continuous doubts. So, and initially, you need a lot of reassurance. Later on, you get that reassurance from yourself and you have that confidence in your recovery. But initially, every other minute, you need someone to tell you that you will be fine, everything, whatever you're going through is normal. And when you speak, you just don't try to, you just don't say that okay, it'll come down. You give that proper explanation of why this is happening and how this will come down. So all that resonates with people a lot. And so that's what happened, and I would really like to mention Rachel over here.
Yes, I was
So
hoping her name would come up. Yeah.
so she was my safety blanket. She was my mentor in the group. So, and I spoke to her almost every day for initial few months. So I would have this really bad day, and I used to just text her, and she was so kind enough to be available at all times. And she used to tell me that you're doing excellent, you're going to be okay. And I have gone through this, and that's what there's something about speaking to people who have already gone through this that gives you that message of safety. So having a mentor, I think, totally changes the game.
Absolutely. Oh, isn't she I mean, she's an angel.
A
She's just an
beautiful soul.
angel. She is a beautiful soul. Yes, I'm, I'm feeling overwhelmed a little bit myself thinking about this because I know you two had a very special relation or have
Yeah,
a very
we
special
still have.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking, you were mentioning the Q&As. Oh, I miss your questions. Because your questions, I and you notice the way I
I
answer.
know that.
Don't worry,
Also,
there are plenty of people to ask me questions always. But I remember how there was a shift over time in how I answered them. Do you remember at the beginning when you first joined, it was a lot of like information and reassurance, and this is how and this is why. And then later on, I would say, aha, now I'm going to answer the question, but I want you to know what to do with this doubt because I'm going to answer
yeah,
this
how
question
to
and you
work
might,
this out.
right? How to work with them. Yeah.
How to
You got
work
so
with.
good at it.
And that was a wake up call for me that I'm really those were not reassurance seeking questions. Those were just doubts that come with the symptoms. So I learned from you how to work with those doubts and how to self-soothe without frantically going on Google or even typing a question in the group. So yeah, I pretty much quickly I understood that. That also changed the game for me. So that was huge.
Mm,
So now even when
yeah,
such doubts pop up, I easily resolve them. I don't know, somehow it gets resolved and it goes at the back of my mind. It doesn't bother me anymore.
beautiful. So when did this start to pay off? Because I'm hearing you came in, you had all this fear, you had all these doubts. I mean, of course, you were physically feeling awful. You started healing, you started changing how you were approaching your own life and the symptoms themselves. When did you actually start to see reductions in symptoms?
Reduction in symptoms, I think I saw after 3 to 4 months. But really, when I really felt that I'm getting better was after 6 to 8 months. I think 8 to 10 months in, I was like, okay, I'm 50 to 60% better now. So I just have to continue the same thing. The parasympathetic breathing, which you taught, that was huge. Somatic tracking, all the tools. So I think 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. But I will say, and I think this is important for people to hear, those 6 to 8 months were not unbearable. The unbearable part was at the beginning when things were
At the
awful and
beginning.
very uncomfortable. But my experience, and maybe you can share yours, is generally that within the first month or two, people start to feel like things are more bearable, even if they're not recovered or feeling a lot better. They're feeling enough better that they can function to some extent. Was it like that for you?
Yeah, it was like that. A main thing that fear level comes down. So even if you are dizzy, so you start doing the activities more. So it becomes bearable day by day. So even if the symptoms are the same, the fear level first comes down. So after that, symptoms slowly keep on decreasing, but the dips are too real.
Tell me about the dips. So people need to hear this from you.
I think there is a little bit of recovery in the dips in the beginning. So those are not dips. That's the main thing. Then you have little glimmers and little uh, uh, part of recovery that you see. Initially, it's just that maybe half an hour of no symptoms or very little symptoms, and then again it shoots up. So that happens a lot. And just when you feel that, okay, this is coming under control and I can function, again the symptoms shoot up. So it's a very zigzag process. But as you said, after a couple of months, that it becomes bearable and it feels like it is in your control. So you start understanding that what triggers you, then what brings you back to the baseline. Like for me, going out, interacting with people, that would trigger my symptoms a lot. And then after that, when I would do parasympathetic breathing and just long walks and all that, it would decrease my symptoms. So I started understanding more about this situation, which initially it wasn't possible.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. And how did you deal with the dips when they happened? Like when you'd start doing better and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I think I've got it." I remember when you started saying that. I very clearly remember. Yonit, I think I've got it. Like there was this light bulb moment where and then, you know, invariably you'd have an increase in symptoms for a little while. So what did you do to help yourself through those times?
Initially, they were very disheartening and they were very awful. So I just want to put it out there that it is not easy to go through those dips initially. For the couple of months or 3, 4 months, in a dip you feel low, you cry it out, and again you have to get a grip on the knowledge. Like maybe see another couple of videos, get to know what it is, then listen about the dips. Speak to someone like Rachel was there for me. Whenever I was in a dip, I used to speak to her, and she would say, "This is completely normal." and this will happen to you. Then I asked questions to you, all those things. So just making that belief strong, that these are dips and this will get better. So initially it's just that pushing yourself. Later on, what happens is that dips become milder. So you can see that, okay, in this situation, I used to feel very, very dizzy. Now I'm feeling dizzy, but it is under control. So that starts to happen, and then that increases your confidence a lot.
Wonderful. Beautiful, beautiful answer. Okay. So I seem to remember there was another inflection point. So you're getting better, you're doing great handling the dips, you're actually starting to physically feel better. And then at some point you said to yourself, I need to stop focusing on healing so much. You didn't quite phrase it that way. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I wanted like to see. I didn't want this to be a part of my personality. Like I refuse to connect myself to being a dizzy person. So this this was just a phase of my life which I was going through. And when it got under my control, then I wanted to move on from it. So that's when I left your group also. I rejoined my work and I was very, very anxious initially to rejoin. And that time I was in touch with you and
I
Rachel.
remember.
That was a huge win and that was very much needed for me. So I rejoined just part-time, not a full-time job. I still don't do full-time job. So, but that gave me so much confidence speaking to other people and, accumulating those small wins every day that, okay, I am dizzy, but I am able to, see a patient and examine them and give them accurate diagnosis and doing everything that I would normally do. So slowly I started to understood that this is something that will not stop me from doing anything. It will be there for a while in the background, but it won't stop me. So I stopped avoiding anything after that. I went to like fun rides with my kids, to the amusement parks. I traveled a lot, and anything I don't say no because of how much dizzy I am that day. So I just keep it in the background and I go about on my day, and it actually gets better because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So, did you change how you approach your job based on what you've learned during this process?
Yes, it did immensely help me. And Dr. Yo, I must say you that after this happened to me, I see a lot of conditions that are, that are because of these mind-body issues, which are misdiagnosed or are just brushed off, saying that it's nothing, it's just you're overthinking about it. So I have seen many patients after I rejoined. Like I had a patient who had ocular migraine, visual migraine. So she couldn't see people's faces. She just saw flashes of lights when she had that migraine, and for days she would have that. And that girl was, I think, 20 years old. She was just engaged, about to marry. So my first question was that, are you stressed? Are you okay? So is there something going in your life? While earlier it wouldn't be that way. I was very, okay, these are the symptoms. So this is the diagnosis. This is the treatment. Okay, you can go off. Now I really listen to them and I try to give them some sort of safety message. And I would tell them that the stress in your life, it is the trauma in your life is responsible for this. So for her mother had died 4 years ago. So since
Oh,
then, her migraine symptoms just shot up. And so I've seen many such patients. I've seen a thyroiditis patient. Everything is normal. She doesn't have anything. She's just stressed from, like, she has chronic stress, insomnia from many years, and she's handling all by herself, which has now caused thyrotoxicosis in her. So what I see is there are many conditions which are related to these mind body issues. and they don't actually have a pathological origin, which are misdiagnosed. And now I question everything.
Yeah.
So
Once you see it,
yeah,
you can't unsee it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Again, so affirming for me to hear because of all the work I do, obviously. And I'm also curious on a personal level, has it changed the way that you approach yourself at work? Like, has it changed how you treat yourself when you're working or when you're doing other things? Like, do you take things more lightly? Do you put less pressure on yourself? That kind of thing.
yeah. I don't put much things on my plate more than I can do. So this is my phase where I have young kids and I can only do this much. Like I can do a part-time job and that's completely fine. I'm okay with it. There will come a phase when I will be more free. So at that time I can join a full-time institute or do whatever I want to do. But this is not that phase. This is my healing phase. So I don't put pressure on myself about anything now. Even the house chores, I used to attach my self-worth a lot to these things. If I am a good mother, or when I had that vertigo, the most disturbing thought to me was how will I be able to take care of my children?
Mm,
So what if I can't cook for them? So things like these. So now I take one day at a time. So I don't think about tomorrow. I may plan for tomorrow, but I don't overanalyze or predict anything bad that could happen tomorrow. So, I read somewhere that if you're going to have any hardship in the future, you have to already, go through it once. You don't have to go through it twice by thinking it beforehand. Because, our
yes.
brains, we don't really know the difference between the imaginary scenario and the real scenario. So initially, that also I think I had learned from you, stop having the fear of the future and what if it doesn't get better, all those things. So that is, and I think I should mention this that for this thing, for the future part and all my personality traits, spirituality was something that was the foundation of my healing. So I could change myself so quickly because I had some firm beliefs, spiritual beliefs. I had some awesome safety messages from my faith. So, like, there are some verses in the Quran which say that Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. So, when I had that fear about the future, then I reminded myself that, everything in life which I went through, He made it possible. Even the part of the vertigo when I was bedridden, I could take care of three kids. Somehow things, you know, it was like a pieces of a puzzle that just came together. So things like those. So after every hardship, there is ease. That's another Quranic verse. So all these verses, all these safety messages from my faith, it formed a firm foundation for my healing. After
Yeah.
which I used your tools and Riaz's tools, everything. I connected it to my spirituality and I could completely get over it.
It certainly makes it so much easier to accept and surrender and be in the moment when you have faith in something bigger, A- anything bigger, but in particular, a benign, a benign bigger, right? Yeah, that's a theme I see for people in their healing as well. And I'm so glad you mentioned it because I think sometimes people are afraid to talk about it, you know,
No, I think that
especially,
was,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I think it was
beautifully stated.
very, very huge because also I had read somewhere that the opposite of anxiety is not being calm, it is trust. You need to trust your own body or something that could, heal you, a higher power, so to say. And you could trust yourself or a person, a therapist, but there is something about trusting your creator, that he has created you, he has brought you till here, you know. So definitely he's going to help you in the future.
Yeah. That's such a wonderful saying. The opposite of anxiety is not peace or calm, it's trust. That's exactly true. That's exactly right. That's really, really accurate. I love that. Okay. So before I let you go, even though I could talk to you for another 3 hours, really, and I would, what advice do you have if there's anything else? Because you've already given so much advice. What advice do you have for people who are going through chronic dizziness?
I think in the initial months, you need a lot of help. And if you're a person like me, you will think 1,000 times before bothering anyone else, so to say. I would advise people to take as much help as you need or want. So while you're healing, you have to make an active effort. You need to do that parasympathetic breathing. You need to go for walks. You have to have that time for yourself. And if you are like already having so many responsibilities, then you definitely need help from either your family members, or in my case, I just have a paid help right now. So in whatever ways you can like help yourselves without any guilt, give yourself those months or maybe a couple of years even to, you know, use that time which you spend in doing your responsibilities or chores in healing. So I advise really to take as much help as you need.
Yeah. Yep. True. Very true. And I also want to add, because I know for some people out there on a practical level, it's really hard to get help. There's also so much you can do for yourself if you're willing to just slow down. Just
Yeah.
slow down. A lot of the things that people tell themselves must happen are really just shoulds, not musts. So, like, oh, no, no, I can't possibly consider doing this for myself or taking this time or whatever. A lot of that is not actually true. It's just
Not,
the way
yeah.
that you think you should be doing things.
I was again, I have to add in that list that I was that person that who thought she should have to do this, you know. So many of those things I could strike out after that in my day. So I could do things more slower, mindfully, and the things those are not required, I could strike it off. So yeah,
That's right.
that's actually.
Yeah. Okay. And one more question, because people will be very upset with me if I don't ask. How are you feeling nowadays? And what limitations do you have, if any?
I don't have any limitations right now. So I am fluctuating between 95 to 100% recovery. There are days when I don't feel dizzy at all, and there's also a small, like very small difference between not being dizzy and being normal. So I am normal many days, and then I have a little dips, so whose intensity is very, very low. So I can go about my day, I can do whatever I want to do. It's just a little reminder that I'm still healing and I still need to continue those practices, all the journaling, all the meditations. So yeah, I'm so that's why I consider myself recovered.
Mm, of course.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah,
Oh, I'm just hearing this with tears in my eyes. This is
I'm so
just,
humble.
yeah, just how incredible and wonderful.
I'll just add one more thing, Dr. Yo.
Please.
Continue doing what you're doing, Dr. Yo. Like, I could never imagine going through this without you. Like I said, you felt like a warm beam of sunshine in that really dark place. And you are really helping people, you know. And there was a time when I was completely suicidal. I didn't want to live. And if one thing which calmed me down, that was you. And not because you're a preacher or you're just, you know, saying you actually help people with what you do. So I really want you to do what you're doing. I wish you like a great journey ahead, and I know for sure you will be a celebrity doctor and you won't be touched in everyone. So yeah, please just do what you're doing and don't listen to anything else.
Thank you so much for that reminder. I talk to I talk to people who are dealing with dizziness every day to remind, that reminds me, but still it's so easy, you know how it is in daily life to get stuck and focus on the wrong things like, oh, this piece of paperwork, or oh, my website broke, or all those stupid things that I have to deal with sometimes. So I always need these reminders, and thank you, because um I'm sorry, I'm trying not to like sob all over my microphone. Um, but thank you for the trust, and thank you for giving me purpose and for teaching me, because the reason I know as much as I do is because people like you have been patient enough with me to let me learn how to help. So um, I get back just as much as I give from my perspective. So thank you so much.
Thank you too, Dr. It takes a lot of patience
It does
to
take a lot
deal.
of patience.
It takes a lot of patience to deal with people's emotions and to hear their stories and to really give that advice, which they may or may not take. So it's a lot of work. Kudos to you for that.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, just like I said at the beginning, I just wish I feel like we should end these interviews with like a huge hug where we just kind of fade off into the distance with like silly music. Like, I feel like that's the way to end these interviews. Feels almost silly to be like, hey, YouTube, questions and comments. But I'm going to do that now. So you stay tight with me. We'll say goodbye off camera, but everyone else who's been tuning in, I hope that you got as much out of this conversation as I did. I Dr. Uzma is, of course, a huge inspiration. But as huge of an inspiration as she is not unique. If you are hearing this story and you're going through the things that she's described or other people in the success stories have described, you can get better too. So you can be not unique with all of them and with Dr. Uzma as well. So please, if you enjoyed this, like, share, subscribe to my channel, leave us questions and comments. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, you can head over to YouTube to join the conversation. I look at those comments, so I'll see what you have to say. And you can also follow the podcast and give us a high-star rating if you think we deserve it. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Uzma, and thanks to all of you for listening. Bye, everyone.